Hey, hey, Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, North Node. Welcome to Left Field. Today we are going to take a look at what makes your higher self proud of you. So, the first thing we're going to ask here is what shadow cycle is closing that your higher self wants to high five you about because you handled it just so freaking well. So, for Sabian symbols, we have 12 degrees Taurus. A young couple walk down Main Street window shopping. 22 degrees Aquarius, a rug placed on the floor for children to play on. And 7 degrees Cancer, two fairies, nature spirits, dancing on a moonlit night. Your unicorn card is balance. Take time to relax. Indulge a little more or a little less. Set boundaries with your work. Then, for your divine animal spirit cards, we have the lizard with regeneration. As a survivor, you are unparalleled. No matter what happens, you can adapt. Embrace your transformation. Put on your new cloak. You're a master of regeneration. And then we also have the raven, shaman. You are the creator and magician. Use your gifts for good. There is power in your wisdom and words. Connect with the elemental spirits and glide through the void. Claim your place as keeper of the mysteries. And then, boy, oh boy, do we have a bunch of cards for your shadow stuff and your positive stuff. So we're going to start with positive first. In tune with the elements, which is perfect. Let's put it right next to Raven with shamanism and calling on the elementals. We have lighthouse. We have hero. We have perception. Accuracy. Analytic ability. Self-discipline. I'm going to put that over the lizard. Running out of room here. You're so positive. Self-acceptance, but accept that about yourself. Which, oh wait, you already do. Okay. Then we have relaxed. The way you are made. Personal style. You're not going to be able to see all of these, but I'll read them to you. Maturity. Good God. Open-mindedness. Who am I talking to here? You're amazing. Intuition. Whoa. Is that two cards or one? Okay, it's one. Okay. And then resilience. Holy crap. Wow. Okay. I'm going to try and group these in some way so I can. Goodness. Okay. And then we still got all these shadow cards too. Emptiness. Clotheslining. Death. Kindness versus weakness. Renewal, rebirth. The social contract. Permission. Body acceptance. Issues of time and time management. Dignity. And speed and pace. Wow. Okay, so you have been dealing with a shit ton. I'm just going to put the shadow stuff here for now. Dive into the Sabian stuff. 12 degrees Taurus, inner interest in outer life that leads to whole-souled participation and achievement. The allure of consumerism. The future and its possibilities. Denying your inner worth because of material deficiency. Keeping up with the Joneses. 22 degrees Aquarius. 22 degrees Aquarius. How about that? Life's warmth and richness given to those who eagerly learn to live. Luxurious self knowing or self appreciation. Comfort and care provided. Caring for young energies. Defining areas of possible activity. Sleeping on the floor or sofa. Too much insulation from reality. Self indulgence. Longing for a home. Feeling confined or unsupported. And 7 degrees Cancer. Man's recognition of the elusive play of underlying forces in nature, cooperation with the invisible, unusual good luck, usually unseen astral realms, reconnecting with the feminine, full moon celebrations, invoking fantasies, dreams, moonlight, not seeing people clearly, lacking responsibility and escapist attitudes. Not seeing people clearly jumps out to me. The fact that we have the moonlight, the moon is generally associated with what is hidden, what is secret, um, what is deep. The moon's very emotional. The moon's very intuitive, mysterious. Recognition of the elusive play of underlying forces of nature. Cooperation with the invisible realm. So 7 degrees Cancer in this reading tells me that you have been dealing with a realm where all is not as it seems, where appearances can be deceiving, where there is a constant undercurrent beneath everything that actually holds more of the truth than the surface may portray. With 22 degrees Aquarius, it's about self-indulgence and comfort and luxury, but it's also about longing for children. It's about warmth and richness and living fully and eagerly. It's about fresh energies. It's about a sense of home, of security, yearning for one, needing one, or enjoying one. 12 degrees Taurus, inner interest in outer life that leads to whole-souled participation. Longing for things, the allure of consumerism, shared dreams, buying more and more. Denying inner worth because of material deficiency, keeping up with the Joneses, those who want to look but not commit. Tire kickers, overspending. What I get from that, the whole allure of consumerism. And we had emptiness come out in the shadow aspects. It makes me think of something that I think I've kind of shorthanded to myself as the assembly line of greed. What I mean by that is, and maybe greed is not the right word, maybe desire or want, or but in an excessive way. Basically what it is if you're familiar with the scene from I Love Lucy, where Lucy's in the candy factory and there's an assembly line of candies going by her, and at first she can handle whatever. I don't know if they're putting like little papers around them or they're putting in boxes or what they're doing, but she has to do something with these candies as they go by on the assembly line. And the assembly line, the conveyor belt starts to speed up. And so she's got to work faster and faster and faster, grabbing these things off of the assembly line and putting them wherever they go. And then it's going so fast that she gets this like sorcerer's apprentice thing going on. Things are out of control. She's having to throw the candies in her mouth and put them in her pockets and try and hide the fact that she can't possibly get all these candies off the assembly line in time. And I always think of that scene from I Love Lucy when I think about this, the consumerism, the allure of consumerism, where we are so focused on wanting and achieving that when we get whatever we're after, we just sort of are like Lucy and we just sort of grab it and it goes to the side, or it's crammed in our mouth, but we really don't want to be eating it because we're not really hungry at that moment. You know, we're not tasting it. because we've got to go right on to the next thing that we want or things that we want. And so it's this constant grabbing and pulling in and then tossing to the side. And there's no enjoyment in that. And doing that comes from a feeling of emptiness. Doing that leads to a feeling of emptiness, though, also. And so I'm going to put this, we've got a million of these things, so I'm just going to put emptiness to the side now. We may have emptied that out as far as the meaning, but I feel like you've been dealing with things not being clear, first of all, and it seems like there's various reasons for that. It seems like this is attached to having a sense of home and getting out of a deprived sense, because a lot of times that emptiness can it comes from deprivation. And I don't know if you've ever seen like a dog that hasn't had water and it really needed water and it just can't drink fast enough, and sometimes they can even, an animal can make itself sick drinking too fast, but just the want is so strong, the need is so strong, and having been deprived for so long, it leads to like this sort of like madness, almost this mad rush to try and acquire or fill or get, instead of being able to just walk down the street and window shop and, oh, that's kind of interesting, well, if we had that, what would we do with that, and just sort of, and hand in hand, and enjoying the night air, and all the different things that would go along with being a young couple walking down Main Street window shopping. It's not just about the stuff in the window. It's not even about getting the stuff in the window. The stuff in the window is part of a full experience. Rug placed on the floor for children to play on makes me feel like, I don't know how thick the rug is or whatnot, but a safe place to land. And a place where the moonlight isn't signifying the presence of underlying forces that one may not be privy to, but instead signifying a beautiful, idyllic setting where fairies, nature spirits, can freely dance. Doesn't that sound like so Tinkerbellish and Peter Panish and nice and, sparkly and balanced? I think that you have been looking at a great, great, great many things here in the shadow cycle. We have speed and pace, and we have dignity, issues of time and time management, which already I'm also starting to get, I don't remember if it's in here or not, but I'm also starting to get like a sort of sense of self-worth as a whole, because how you manage your time, it does impact your dignity. How quickly you're able to do things, or working at your own pace, or not, and affects your self-image. We have body acceptance and permission, the social contract, renewal and rebirth, practice, ritual, and routine. So being able to do things repeatedly without getting bored, without phoning it in, and finding mastery, finding security, finding healthy habit. The kindness and weakness conflation. You hear that a lot in the collective about people mistaking kindness for weakness. So that has been an issue, trying to feel out possibly who's kind. And because I feel like actually it's not the people who appear kind but are weak, if there are any. I don't really know. I don't know how that whole thing even goes, honestly, because I don't ever have I don't if somebody mistakes your kindness for weakness, then that it always says to me like they're trying to get one over on you, because why would kindness versus weakness be an issue otherwise? Why is somebody concerned with how strong or how weak you are unless they're trying to topple you? If there's an answer to that that I'm missing, I would really love to know what it is. My email's in the about section. Because I don't see where looking at somebody and wanting to judge them as being weak based on the fact that they're not attacking you, I don't see where that is a logical part of any healthy appraisal. I see that only as being an appraisal that happens when someone possibly wants to take advantage of you. So, for whatever that's worth, that's what I think of the kindness and weakness conflation. I think even looking at weakness is an indication that the person looking at the weakness maybe has less than wholesome intentions. We have death and clotheslining. Um, wow. Clotheslining. Clotheslining refers to the practice of people driving by mailboxes really quickly with a baseball bat out the window, smashing the mailboxes down, clotheslining. You're running, and all of a sudden there's this rope in front of you or something. Clotheslining. Somebody's thrown a clothesline in front of you and fucks you up. You trip. And why there's a card that says this is not because I expect that these physical manifestations are actually happening in anyone's life. I would hope not. But people have a way of doing this socially as well. Sort of catty bullshit that is an attempt to make you look bad in front of other people is clotheslining. Clotheslining is like insults out of the blue. Clotheslining is, come here, it's okay, come here, whack. That's what clotheslining is. And that's whatever has been under the surface during the shadow cycle. I feel like when it has come up, it has felt like clotheslining. But I also feel like it doesn't matter because you are resilient and you are disciplined, and that extends not just to, practice and ritual and routine and habit and being able to be analytical and accurate and all of this, but it also speaks to having a discipline about how your mind is going to be run. We have open-mindedness here. We have analytic ability. We have accuracy. Um, and we have lighthouse also. So, you've got that inherent sort of yen for optimism built in. Like if it's not your set point, you want it to be. And so it's always kind of like the direction that you're striving in. And you have amazing perception and you're very intuitive, shamanic even. So, I mean, there's a big part of you that actually loves when there is underlying stuff going on. You just don't want to be freaking clotheslined by it. And this is the problem. And I feel like maybe I'm getting a sense of also charisma here. I'm getting a sense of altruism. I'm getting a sense of with in tune with the elements, I'm getting a sense of sensuality and laughter and I mean an impersonal style. A very, very pleasant, very cool person who actually, I mean, there's no reason that this kind of shit should be coming up, right? And there's certainly no reason for freaking emptiness. But I feel like a place that you went to that was supposed to be a soft place to land, maybe there were some nails and tacks underneath that rug that you didn't see when you first stepped onto it that ended up injuring you. And that there's also been so much striving to keep up materially. Now we have death and we also have renewal and rebirth. So I feel like there's been a deep transformation here. And the social contract, along with permission, which seems okay, it's not sticking to anything. I guess I just needed permission to put it. All right, no, I'm not gonna. Permission, social contract, body acceptance, and dignity, along with the kindness weakness conflation, along with clotheslining, along with emptiness. People have overstepped their bounds with you in a serious way. People have overstepped bounds with a person that they should have treated with dignity. People have been rushing you. People have been putting demands on your time. People have been telling you that what you produce is not enough, that you need to pick up the pace, that you need to do this, that you need to do that, that you need to. But no, you don't need to, because you're a person who does better when they're relaxed and going at their own pace. That's when you're accurate. Because you have your own way of analyzing things. You have your own process. And it's not a process that other people can really put their baggage onto and have it still be a successful process. It's the way you are made. It's not the way they are made. And see, that's really key, because people try and tell us how to live life, how to do things, how we should be. And they try and give you a recipe for that. And it's really kind of ridiculous if you think about it, because say that I'm white willow bark and say you're a beautiful poppy pod. And I think that you should go through the same chemical process that I go through in order to live a successful life, because a successful life to me is an end result of aspirin. Okay? But if you follow the same process that I follow to have that end result of aspirin, and you're a poppy pod, you end up with heroin, because it's the same process. It's the same chemical process. Please do not make heroin and aspirin at home, since I'm telling you this. But it is the same chemical process. It's just a different main ingredient. And as human beings, we are the different main ingredient. And what works well for aspirin or for white willow bark, what works for white willow bark may not be appropriate for the poppy pod, because maybe that poppy pod isn't supposed to be heroin. Maybe it's supposed to be a beautiful field of flowers. It just depends. I don't know. Ask the poppy pod. I just don't feel like white willow bark is really gonna know. So it's a really weird example. But what I'm saying is we can't just graft somebody else's chemical process or process period onto our life and have it be the same result. But for some reason, there are certain people in the world who put pressure on us to do just that and then get upset when the results that we get are not what they were wanting us to get. And I mean, the whole thing, the social contract, that's an overstepping of bounds. When someone is putting shit under the rug that your children play on, okay, metaphorically, when someone is putting demands on your time or your process, the way that you do things organically and naturally, particularly when you are clearly somebody with good intentions and an enormous heart, who has likely been through a lot of crap in life, because how else do you become resilient? Somebody who hasn't been through things doesn't need to be resilient, and so therefore probably would not be the first thing we would highlight about them. And I mean, it's just been a bunch of bullshit. People haven't been straight with you. You've been trying to be balanced. It's really the whole feeling that I get about this shadow cycle is that there's been a lot of core issues at play here, and there's been meddling in these core issues that didn't need to be there. Well, I mean, does meddling even ever need to be anywhere? Actually, in my opinion, no. But the thing is that through this, look at all these positive qualities. Let's get this shadow shit off of here for a second. Look at all these positive qualities that we have. And we're leaving dignity here because you've got that. You've got your damn dignity. Don't think that anybody took it from you, because they did not. We're and accept your body because you're beautiful. Whoever made you feel like you're lacking in body acceptance, to hell with them. And I don't mean that literally, okay? I'm not wishing yeah, okay. I'm just saying they don't get a say in anything, because baby, personal style came out too. Your perception, your intuition. You're a shaman. But you're a shaman that can walk on the freaking planet. You're a shaman that can live in the world. And you deserve to be relaxed, because the way you are made is perfect. And I think what your higher self wants to high five you about through this whole BS shadow cycle that you have been through is all of these beautiful qualities, because they still come out. Even if you don't feel them, they still freaking come out and they still shine through. So no matter what sort of duck shit you've been through for the shadow cycle, know that you still shine bright. And know that you are somebody's hero, damn it. So you have gone through this amazingly, with all of the garbage that you've literally had to swim through. Your higher self could not be prouder of how you've handled it. And that doesn't, whether you can look back at things and say, I wish I would have done this differently, I wish I would have done that differently. The things that you wish you would have done differently that you didn't, the fact that you look at them and you say, I wish I would have done that differently, is the whole point.
That's the whole reason why you didn't. So you could know that. So you could know that as well as you know anything. I will not go that way again. And that, my friend, is a beautiful fucking thing to have done. So don't kick yourself for a second of anything. Every step you took, whether it was a proper step or a misstep, was a step you were supposed to take. So fucking kudos. Okay. Goodness. Second question. What does your higher self think was particularly badass about how you handled this? We have 9 degrees Gemini, a quiver filled with arrows. I'm getting Sagittarius vibes off of this. Superiority and ease based on training, sure marksmanship, certain self direction, preparedness, invisible help in trouble, make a strategy, hit the target. Accuracy comes up again. Unicorn card, possibility. Raise your standards, elevate your expectations. You have unlimited potential. I feel that very strongly. And beloved, prepare for your life partner. Romance is returning to your relationship. Believe you are lovable. Yeah, you are. Oh my God, did you see all of those positive quality cards? Okay, and then we have dolphin, play, swim in the happy joy of living. Inhale confidence and exhale fear. Dive into your wisdom. Go with the flow. We've got sea turtle, protection. You are master of finding life's flow. Be in harmony with the rhythm and your path will unfold. Persevere and you will succeed. You have everything you need to be protected and happy. Then we have orca whale, adventure. Dare to do things differently. Sing your wild song. Manifest your travel dreams. Attempt the great journey with confidence. Be loyal. Friends and family are your treasures. Be brave. You're more powerful than you know. I am feeling the power. I'm like, woo, I'm amped. I mean, your energy is lit. Cougar, assertive. In silence you find power. Claim your leadership role and take action. You know where to go and what to do. You have the courage and confidence to succeed. Then we have personal choice. Close your eyes. What animal do you imagine? What strengths are they known for? What wisdom do they share? Embrace these qualities. And then we have Black Jaguar, Old Soul. Walk through life with confidence and grace. You have power from beyond the world. Focus on what you really want. You can create your dreams. I'm going to stop for a second because there's so many of these that came out on this that I want to kind of grab a hold of the initial impressions I'm getting before I open up more impressions here. It's particularly badass that you have embraced possibility, that you have opened your heart to love and to play, that you are making your own fucking choices and asserting yourself, that you are embracing your sense of adventure, knowing that you are totally protected. Because you're an old soul, you've got a lot of ancient wisdom, invisible help in trouble. You've really gone through like a deepening of your spirituality. And I think that you're discovering what a divine warrior you are. And I think that you're also really getting a sense of how sharp your manifestation skills are, how sure your aim is. That once you set your mind to something, you can do anything that you set that mind to because it's powerful. So that is particularly badass. This is like a top of the mountain closing of a shadow cycle for you. I mean, this is like a fucking Mount Everest thing before they ruined the whole thing with everybody like dying on the whip. What? Well, okay, yeah. I'm not even gonna. This is a whole Mount Everest thing before like Mount Everest was a scary thing to think about. Okay. Anyway, yeah, we'll be editing that out maybe. Okay, so you can really make decisions apparently because ability to make decisions came out again. Do we have two of those cards? What is the deal with that? Accuracy? No, no. Okay. It's just something that okay. Enthusiasm, another positive quality. Modernity, you're modern. Your value of self. Every day is special. You live ever in a new day, and you're very likable. And you can find your place among so many different types of people. And that's really beautiful. You have enormous imagination. And you're getting back in touch with your dreams. And you're making a line in the sand and saying, damn it, you have a right to privacy. And that's very assertive. It's very much, well, I mean, it should be a personal right more than a personal choice. But you're making the choice that it is your freaking right. That you're taking that right back. That you don't owe people explanations. You don't owe people an interior view. Some of the shadow aspects that you've been dealing with and being badass about the way you've been dealing with them, your sense of humor has adjusted. You're starting to find humor in things that maybe were not funny to you this time last year. Maybe were not funny to you 6 weeks ago. I don't know. But you're getting sharper, and you're starting to have that view that okay, it's bullshit on one level, but on another level, it's great material. Systems of caste, class divisions, or similarities. You've been looking at how people are divided in our culture and how silly some of these divisions are because we're all so similar to each other. Effort and intention. It makes me think of The Art Spirit by Robert Henri. He talks about the dancer having a fluid moment, and every every part of her that moves in this fluid moment, or fluid movement, I should say. Well, it is a fluid moment though. It's a fluid moment of movement. Is everything is geared to this one fluid movement. There's nothing like there's no part of her that's over here goofing off or being weird when she's doing this smooth. You know what I mean? It's a clarity of purpose, it's a focus. It's basically making your intention count. It's making your effort flow with your intention. Sometimes we can get effort and intention can be unbalanced. And we can have really, really sincere intentions about something. But because we're hyper focused on the aspect of our intentions, we're not taking the necessary adjacent efforts to help that intention along. And so I think that you've been looking a lot at where you put your effort, how your effort is able to translate your intention into your reality. And I think that you've been fine-tuning that. And I think that your higher self is pleased that you have been looking at that, because it's a complex issue. Compassion and empathy for others is another thing that you've been really looking at. And I think that you've been looking at the people around you and noticing how this plays out in them as well and taking notes. You've been exposing yourself to new music, to new media, and you have, I feel like you've been refusing to sort of blend in with what you like. And I think that maybe that may have been something that you have done prior, like gone along with the crowd for whatever. Okay, let's see this movie. Oh, everybody sees this movie, and so you see this movie, but maybe you haven't really been into that movie, and maybe part of it has actually been because everybody sees this movie. That's the whole selling point, really? They just said it's popular. Ugh. That's how I think you sort of feel sometimes. um Career choice. You want your career choice to reflect who you really are. And you want your career choice to allow you to use your many talents. And you want to be enthusiastic about a career. You want your career to make sense as far as, being aligned with your place in the community, with how you feel about other people, with how you feel about yourself. And you don't want to be, completely 100% serious all the time, because you want to feel like every day is special. That's your whole approach to life is, you wake up in the morning, and I think that it's your natural way to sort of have a smile on your face and be like, okay, what are we getting into today? And I think that there's been, in the shadow cycle, there have been, elements that have been pushing down on that. And I think that's why you push back. Nourishment. And discipline comes out right after. So I feel like maybe there's an approach to taking better care of yourself. And also to not sacrificing yourself anymore to the desires, the demands, the constraints, the limitations, um, the orders of others, which is so badass to get a handle on, because martyrs don't really do any good to anybody. The way a martyr would do good is if they stuck around and then they explained to people how the hell they did it, not to be fallen. There's no help for others in being a sacrifice. Confidence in your inner self. What hits me looking at this is I feel like, not so much like deep down you didn't think you were that great. I think what it is inhabiting that confidence that has been the problem. I feel what it is that deep down you know how valuable you are. But the issue is you have not been getting the feedback that matches with that from the elements in the shadow cycle that were oppressive or negative. And so that made you less inclined to want to display that confidence in yourself or to buy into it, to believe it, because it's there and it's deep down. But it was like a newspaper that you ain't reading. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I know that that's in that article, but I don't. That's not, that article's not really me, sort of a thing. I don't really need that information right now. You guys go ahead and read that article or whatever. That, I don't know. That's a really shitty example, but I mean, what I'm saying is that it's like you didn't feel comfortable embracing how you truly feel about yourself deep down because it wasn't reflected. And so, because you do have analytical acumen, because you do have deep perception, and because you're so open-minded, it's like you were trying to get clues from that lack of reciprocity, of confidence in this confidence, lack of validation that this confidence was the right direction to be, going in. Like other people, well, what's up with the other people? Why don't they see this too? Maybe it's not good information. I think that was the perspective you were coming from. It absolutely is good information, but I think that what it was cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is like one of the biggest. I mean, you can just call it static too. It's something that gets in the way of a clear alignment, of clarity, of being able to know what the fuck's going on. What are we dealing with here? What's real? What's solid? What can we trust? When there's cognitive dissonance, it's always got you going back and forth because it feels like this over here, but then it feels like this over here. And then it doesn't make sense because these two things don't go together. So why is, it's misdirection. You've been fighting back a lot of distractions. You've been dealing with false starts, and yet you haven't let that stop you. I mean, you're sitting up taking nourishment. You're listening to a reading. You know what I mean? You're still standing. You're still here, even though people tried to, oh, go that way. Take the left turn at Albuquerque. Do this. It's doesn't matter. Oh man, I feel like you've been dealing with learned helplessness. Really, to me, this is a card about I'm getting abuse. I mean, because learned helplessness, when you're in abusive situations, like when people are in abusive situations and their locus of control is taken away from them, so they cannot do things to change their life for themselves. They have to rely on other people. It creates it creates learned helplessness. And what learned helplessness is you have learned from these oppressive factors in an environment, if you have learned helplessness, that you are unable to do things without the approval, assistance, permission of some authority that is supposedly higher than yourself. But it's false. It's a learned response. It's not an organic response. It is a response that somebody has placed upon you. So, and it's a very, very difficult thing, or it can be very, very challenging, let's say, because I don't want to doom anybody that's currently dealing with it. But I feel like that you are learning your way out of learned helplessness. It can be disturbs your whole ability to get footing, to find purchase, and know what your parameters are, and okay, here is how I take effective action. Learned helplessness makes us look at things and feel vague and confused, and I really don't know, and that's overwhelming, and I don't even know where to begin. And that's the sort of the purpose of people putting learned helplessness on you, and a good way to do that too is burning somebody out, overworking them. That will also generate learned helplessness, and that's also a form of abuse. To not allow people to go at their own pace, to not allow them to be self-directed, to misdirect them is abusive. And so being able to start pulling yourself out of that and asserting yourself and making your own choices and saying, you know what, I'm not going to be afraid of making mistakes or afraid that I won't be able to handle it. I know that I can. That's tremendous, especially with everything else that's been going on. Then you got issues of etiquette, decorum, and manners. What is polite? What's not? What's impolite? What's downright rude? I think that has been something that you've been examining because of issues of asserting your own desires and kicking back the demands of others on your time. Seeing, who is overstepping boundaries. who is actually portraying themselves as being a polite person or somebody that has decorum, but they're in fact quite ill-mannered. You're making assessments and well, here we go. Do as I say, not as I do. You're seeing hypocrisy. You're looking at people who purport themselves to be one way and want you to be the way that they purport themselves to be, but then they do things that are quite opposite of these values. What's normal? That's something you've also been looking at. Who decides what normal is? Lily Tomlin in Search for Intelligent Life in the Universe, or Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe. There's a line that the character Trudy says. She says, reality is a collective hunch. So is normal. It's very subjective. I mean, a lot of things are normal to people that to other people are not normal at all. Like, do as I say, not as I do, for example. Like, learned helplessness. You know, I mean, like any sort of issue that we could pull out of the shadow work deck basically is normal for somebody and acceptable for somebody where it shouldn't be. And then there are some things that are not normal that should be, like allowing people to be their unique selves, like not being judgmental of others. That's what should be normal. Having a kind heart instead of looking at somebody with a kind heart as being weak. That's what should be normal. How you treat others. You've been looking at how you treat others because of things like these ideas of what's normal and these ideas of do as I say, not as I do, and decorum, who steps their boundaries, who doesn't, who's been perhaps treated better than they actually have earned, who hasn't been treated as well as they should have been, who walks the walk, who talks the talk. How does that affect how you view them? How does that affect how you dole out your compassion and empathy, which I suspect is very generous because I do really get a feeling of a huge heart here. Yeah. And betrayal trauma. I get the sense here that part of the underlying forces that we saw with the moon and do as I say, not as I do. Somebody yanked the rug out from under you. They didn't just put tacks and nails underneath it. They literally yanked it out from under you. The thing is, though, I don't see anything here. There's no like shadow cards about anger or anything like that. You're using this as fuel. It may not feel like it. It may not feel, I mean, it's there's no way that trauma is pleasant to experience in any form, particularly when it comes from betrayal. Because betrayal, I mean, it's refer back to clotheslining, you know, because that's a sort of a social betrayal when somebody leads you into a nice conversation and they're just using that to bitch slap you, right? I mean, it's a small level betrayal. It's not like, you know, running off with your spouse or something while, you know, you're asleep, but it's it's never anything that's, I mean, it always should force us to examine like how these things occur so we can understand and we can protect ourselves in the future. But the fact that things have come out here like how you treat others and like compassion and empathy, and what's normal, what's not normal, what's polite, what's impolite, what's a fair, request, what's demanding. It's a more evolved approach that you're taking in the way that you're processing all of this, whether it feels more evolved to you or not. Because, I mean, I'm getting a lot of pain here, but I'm also getting a very modern and mature way of looking at that pain and dealing with that pain. I'm getting this feeling like you want to, as awful as the situation feels to you, you really have a sincere wish to get from it the absolute best that you can. And I legit think oh God, I feel like I'm gonna cry right now because it's just really, that's a really fucking beautiful thing. It would be great if other people could approach, trauma in the same fashion, because it's very admirable that as much as this hurts you, you're not just putting up a shield and saying to hell with everything, you know? That instead you're saying, what can I make out of this? How can I salvage the situation and not only make it salvageable but make it beautiful? Wow, no wonder your higher self thinks you're badass. Okay. Don't mind me, I'm just a sap. And you're impressive, so. What does your higher self want you to know and or remember about yourself going forward? So we have 20 degrees Aquarius. One day I will get my teeth fixed. In the meantime, I'm just gonna make y'all laugh. Uh, all two of you or whatever. A large white dove bearing a message. That's 20 degrees Aquarius. 15 degrees Aquarius, two lovebirds sitting on a fence and singing happily. I feel like you've got something nice coming for you in the love department. 6 degrees Aquarius, a masked figure performs ritualistic acts in a mystery play. Who's that masked man? Thank you, masked man. 16 degrees Sagittarius. Sorry, you see, I have masked man. I have to bring up the Lenny Bruce. Yeah, it's in my contract. 16 degrees Sag. Seagulls fly around a ship looking for food. And then 2 degrees Leo, an epidemic of mumps. These Sabian symbols cards, I'm telling you. We'll get back to you, mumps. So then we have for a unicorn card, we have patience. Pause before you take action. Trust that divine timing is at work. Be patient and play whilst you wait. Fox, clever. You are swift and smart. Solutions to problems are easily found. Always listen to your instincts. Resources surround you. Be open to romance. Then we have butterfly, rebirth. You can reinvent yourself. Open to the rewards of change. You have brilliance to share with the world. Love every part of your journey. And raccoon, inventor. Decide on what you really want. You have the ingenuity to claim it. Avoid being the trickster and practice integrity. You have many roles and can juggle them well. I do get that sense off of you that you're very multifaceted, that you have a lot of angles and stuff. I don't know why I said angles. That's kind of a. Maybe you've got like a lot of different strategies for whatever you're doing. with the analytic ability and the accuracy that came out, and the open-mindedness, definitely, well, I mean, we have inventor here, and that's the thing, is you got like this huge original inventor energy. Is like a scientific slash, I, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass here. I'm just gonna genius energy, okay? That's what I'm feeling. 2 degrees Leo is about rumors and innuendo, and it's also about the constructive result of inconveniences in life. So actually, it's about what we were just talking about you wanting to get the best out of anything that you can, especially a bad situation. And so the feeling that I get here is that your higher self wants you to remember that that not only do you have that wish, but you have that skill, that that skill to make adjustments to avoid future pain, that skill to be, I mean, we've got an epidemic of mumps, and it makes me think of epidemiology. An epidemiologist would look at a community and find all of the factors in that community besides the obvious, I don't know, is there a mump germ? I have no idea. But the stereotypical cause, the thing that most people would say, oh, that's what caused it. And the epidemiologist goes and looks at other factors, the environmental factors, the demographic factors, all of the little things holistically that come into play. And I feel like that's what you have been doing, like all those cards in the previous stack of the last question. You've been sort of like an epidemiologist, sort of going through and parsing all this information about, okay, so how did this whole shadow cycle that is finally freaking closing, how did this manifest? What were the origins of this? What information do I need to know about this in order to resolve certain things, in order to tie up loose ends, in order to make sure that I don't have to walk down this particular dark hallway again. This card talks a lot about the moments of pause that sustain and presage change. Sort of liminal space. And then conversely, losing sight of alternatives and being opportunistic and scalpers, users, abusers, waiting for scraps that may not come. So, to me, this card speaks about knowing the difference. Knowing the difference between when you're in a liminal space and when you're in a void. And your higher self wants you to remember that you know the difference. If there is ever a point that you find yourself not knowing the difference, that only means it's time to step back, get your bearings, get into your own energy. Don't let anybody else into it until you have a bead on what the deal is, because you absolutely know the difference. So, if you ever get to a point in the future where it's hard to tell, okay, is this just like a waiting room, or have I actually been trapped in here and they're just pretending it's a waiting room? That means step away from it mentally. You can step back, get a larger perspective, get in your own energy, and you'll know that nobody's going to be able to fool you about this again. But you just have to make sure that you give yourself space to figure it out. Compelling urge in every soul to express the unknown, and the more than physical sensitiveness to high purpose. Conflict, rituals, shamanism, archetypes of personality, masks that veil,
drama, banditry, smoke screens, and then deception, tricks.
Ploys. Again, I'm getting this same sort of thing. You like mystery, but you also want to be able to quantify certain elements of that mystery. You like mystery, but you don't like a mystery that's going to cut you off at the knees. See, this is a mystery play. He's performing ritualistic acts in a mystery play. And the fact that drama comes out here, you prefer the role playing of danger much more than the actual being in danger. And so your higher self wants you to remember that role playing is always open and available for you, that you don't have to shy away from certain things because of, you know, you don't have to live like some sort of, I don't know, starched Oxford's only life, you know. I don't know. Why is the word pinafore coming to my head? Okay, go ahead and laugh. That's fine. My guides are laughing at me. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking like, something that's just really prim and proper and boring. You don't it doesn't Life doesn't have to be prim and proper and boring in order to be good and wholesome. Like you can have wholesome adventure. It's just wholesome in that instance means that it's not going to end you. It's not going to damage you. It's not going to wound you and leave you having to, repair yourself where you could be out having more adventures. There's still lots of life and verve in the world, and you don't need any of the well, for lack of a better term, the spooky bullshit is not required to have an exciting time. You can still, I think that you get it. I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, healthy doesn't have to be boring. Healthy doesn't have to be plain. Healthy doesn't have to be like no fun. Healthy can be spicy and sexy and seem dangerous, but still be healthy. It's just opening your mind to that. And your higher self is wanting you to know that you absolutely know how to do this. You absolutely know what the difference is. So go by that litmus of what you feel feels right. Don't go by what other people outside of you say is fun or not fun, or you should be doing or you shouldn't be doing, or because you're inventive, and the things that you will come up with to keep your life full of a sense of adventure that also isn't adventure that wears you out or depletes you, but that invigorates you, that energizes you. I mean, you have so much more potential and possibility to discover the endless ways of doing that than anybody could ever possibly tell you. Two lovebirds sitting on a fence, singing happily. Contagiousness of happiness in human associations. Revelation of constructive reality. Radiation of spontaneous faith. Faith and love are waiting for signs to commit. Friendships, companionship, fences, borders, barriers. Showing love, mating for life. Honest communication. Your higher self wants you to know how valuable it is for someone to have you in their life, and how much you deserve to have someone in your life who is just as valuable as you are. You are so special. And when you are happy, it is contagious. And that happiness is a fuel for the happiness of others. because we had that lighthouse card come out, and that to me, it's the lighthouse card is about being a beacon for humanity. And we have the radiation of spontaneous faith, revelation of constructive reality, contagiousness of happiness in human associations. So, really, and I mean, this goes for everybody, but it goes especially for you if this reading is resonating for you. Making yourself happy is a key, integral part of you doing for others. Because when you make yourself happy, truly happy, not what passes as happy in some twisted parts of this culture, but genuinely happy, happy on your terms. When you make yourself happy like that, then every move you make is fluid out of that center of happiness, and so is therefore pure. And even the moves that you make that are not specifically directed for another individual's benefit, because of that purity, they still benefit others because it's the energy. So I mean, people like to make fun of, when others talk about energetic exchange, but it's I mean, we all have walked into a room where somebody has been highly pissed the fuck off, and we've all felt how that feels. And a human being walking on this planet that doesn't feel that kind of bullshit vibe in a room with somebody, and that person's not even saying anything to them, but they're just seething, we all, I mean, it's real. And of course, gee, I don't know, there's like only a whole science about it too, physics. So, I mean, Albert Einstein only dedicated his whole life to it. So, I mean, yes, please, some person who only watches reality TV, please tell me how energy's bullshit. I would love to have that conversation with you. Okay, sorry. Like I, say in the description, crackpot opinions are my own. The whole point of that is supposed to be your happiness is contagious. Making yourself happy is absolutely doing for the world. And your higher self really wants to drive that home for you. That if you aren't happy, it's not going to be possible to make anybody else happy. So don't martyr yourself for anybody. Make sure that you take care of yourself, because your higher self trusts that you're not a selfish person. And you know why? Because your higher self knows you. So don't worry that you're going to do too much. You're not, because I don't even get the feeling from you that indulgence is something. I think that what other people would call indulgence with you is actually you trying to medicate. So, bearing that in mind, then the idea of being indulgent or selfish goes along with being wounded and trying to repair. And that's not what we're talking about here. That's not making somebody happy. When somebody is wounded and trying to repair themselves, they're not trying to make themselves happy. They're trying to make themselves stop hurting. There's a huge difference. And things that make us stop hurting do not always make us happy. Your higher self wants you to make yourself happy. A large white dove bearing its message, the blessing of every effort of the Holy Ghost, of revealed significance, exaltation of all individual efforts. Celebrity, blessings delivered, all is well. Remember that. You're somebody that brings relief to others just by being the beautiful person that you are. Let alone all the other stuff you got planned, because I feel that off of you. I mean, you're an inventor and you analyze incessantly and you love humanity. So you're always devising ways that things can be better for everybody. And your higher self wants you to acknowledge that about yourself. You're a beautiful soul, a beautiful old soul. Humbleness. See, this is why. Because your higher self knows that you're humble. You have confidence, you know your value, but you're not trying to take more than what you share. You really aren't. You're focused and you're divine. You're a lighthouse and you are divine. And it's right there on the card. The card came out. You do. And hi, we have patience. Hi, we have patience. Are you patient? I think you are. Yeah, well, you definitely are. If you're still watching, you're definitely patient. Constructiveness. You're constructive and productive, and you're brave. Don't ever think that you're not brave, because you are, and you're talented. Accuracy is here again. We have 2 accuracy cards, and we have 2. Wow. That's just how accurate you are. It needed to be said twice. And compassion and empathy. And we had compassion and empathy for others. So, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul. What have we been talking about here this whole time? You're a joy to be around. You deserve to feel that joy too. You may have some doubts, because we're getting into the shadow cards here. You may have some doubts about this. Please don't, because you are sexy AF. And I mean, that's why it's coming out in this question. If it were something that, oh yes, it's a legitimate battle that you have to fight here, this battle of whether or not you are actually sexually attractive, that would have been in question 1. See, now I'm throwing stuff. That's how sexy you are. I'm throwing stuff. So you're sexy. Don't worry about it. Stay optimistic, because that's a fabulous quality of yours. And other people might try and dim that, because other people don't have as much optimism as you're able to access. When you're really in your power, when you're really feeling your oats, I mean, boundless joy, boundless opportunity, and boundless possibilities. So don't let other people bind that shit. Virtue and vice is a subjective thing, a very subjective thing. Virtuous people get called viceful. Is that even a word? I don't know. Well, vicey, let's say. Virtuous people get called vicey all the time, and vicey people like to pretend that they're virtuous. So, but then reverse snobbery. We don't want to paint everybody with the same brush, even if that means that we have to yank the brush out of their hand because maybe they're more privileged. See, that's why this card, because the spirit had me write this one for myself, and it comes out for you. So you and I would probably, have a nice cup of coffee together and have a good time, because we both kind of may tend to look down our noses at people who are typically the snobs. And the operative word in that sentence is typically. Because I guess you and I both need to remember that not everybody who's in that typical category is actually guilty of that. It's a lot like the converse of the whole normal thing, isn't it? It's just star-bellied sneeches all over the place. Feeling capable or accomplished is apparently, and marriage. Huh. That's an interesting one. Your higher self wants you to know or remember about yourself going forward. You are capable. You are accomplished, and you haven't even gotten started. And you deserve love. You deserve love, and you can have love. You deserve a happy marriage. You deserve a happy union. You deserve a happy family. And it is completely achievable. There is no reason on this earth or in any other freaking realm, dimension, planet, whatever the hell. There's no reason anywhere. I defy someone to show me a reason, says your higher self, why these things are not possible. And I think it's really nice, actually, that it's ending on this, because this card gives that sense of security and home, of a soft place to land, that came out in the first question. That this shadow cycle may have actually started off with that step, the step that started the journey to try and find that soft place to land. And so it looks like it's going to finish up with you finding that soft place to land. So congratulations. And I hope that this has been helpful and resonant. And I'm getting all sappy again, so I'm just going to wish you love and light and tell you to take care.